For 12 years, I woke up next to a man who loved me. I want you to hold on to that sentence because everything I'm about to tell you doesn't erase it. My husband loved me, and I loved him. But love, I learned, isn't always the thing that saves a marriage. Sometimes it's the thing that makes the silence more dangerous. My name isn't important. What happened to me might already be happening to someone watching this right now. And if that's you, I need you to stay until the end. Because there's a lesson in this that took me a decade to learn. And I don't want it to take you that long. I got married at 26. Michael, that's not his real name either. But let's call him that, was steady, kind, the kind of men mothers pray their daughters find. We built a life that looked, from the outside, like something out of a catalog. A house with a garden, 2 kids, Sunday dinners with his parents, friends who called us relationship goals without a hint of irony. But here's what nobody saw. 3 years into our marriage, I made a decision that I told myself was small. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself it was protecting him, protecting us, protecting the life we'd built. I stopped telling him the truth about money. It started innocently enough. I'd always been the one who managed our finances. Michael hated numbers, hated budgeting, would rather hand me his paycheck and never think about it again. And for a while, that worked. But then my mother got sick, and the medical bills started arriving. And I didn't want to burden him because he was already stressed at work, already stretched thin as a new father. So I quietly took out a credit card in my name, just to cover the gaps. Just until things got better, things didn't get better. My mother's illness dragged on for 2 years. The credit card became 3. The debt became something I could no longer say out loud, not even to myself in the mirror. And the secret, the simple, protective secret, became a wall. Not because Michael would have been angry about the debt itself. I know now he wouldn't have been. But because I had built an entire second life, a financial shadow self, that he knew nothing about. And once you're living 2 lives, even the smallest conversation becomes a minefield. He'd ask, "How are we doing this month?" And I'd smile and say fine, while my stomach turned to ice. I want to pause here and ask you something. Have you ever noticed how a secret doesn't stay the same size? It doesn't sit quietly in the corner where you put it. It grows. It feeds on your silence. What started as $40,000 became 60. What started as "I'll tell him when things settle down" became "I can never tell him now. It's been too long." He'll ask why I lied for so many years. The years that followed are hard for me to talk about, even now. I became someone I didn't recognize. I was short-tempered over nothing. I flinched every time the mail came. I picked fights about things that had nothing to do with the real issue, because some part of me needed an outlet for the guilt I was carrying and couldn't name. Michael, meanwhile, thought something was wrong with us. He thought I'd fallen out of love with him. He started sleeping on the edge of the bed. He stopped reaching for my hand in the car. And I let him believe the wrong story, because the wrong story was safer than the true one. That's the part one want every woman watching this to hear clearly. The secret didn't just hurt our finances. It hurt our intimacy. It hurt the way he saw himself in our marriage. He spent 2 years quietly, grieving a version of me that didn't exist, a wife who'd stopped loving him when the truth was I loved him so much I was terrified of what my mistake might cost us. The unraveling happened on an ordinary Tuesday. Not a dramatic confrontation, not a discovered receipt in a coat pocket like in the movies. A bank called our home phone, an old landline we kept for his elderly father, asking to speak with me about a missed payment. Michael answered. And in 30 seconds, 4 years of my carefully built shadow life stood exposed in our kitchen. I remember the silence more than anything he said. He sat down at the table, very slowly, like his legs had stopped trusting him. And he asked one question that I will never forget. Did you think I couldn't handle knowing? That question broke something open in me, because the honest answer was complicated. Yes, I thought he couldn't handle it emotionally, in the moment, with a newborn and a stressful job. But underneath that, if I was really honest, I think I was protecting an image. I wanted to be the wife who had it together, the one who didn't need help. Asking for help, real help, the kind that says I am struggling and I don't know what to do, felt like admission of failure. And so instead of trusting him with my fear, I managed it alone. And in doing so, I quietly told him, every single day for 4 years, that he wasn't safe enough to carry hard things with me. We almost didn't survive that Tuesday. I won't pretend otherwise. Michael moved into his brother's spare room for 6 weeks. I spent those 6 weeks doing the hardest work of my life, not around the debt, which we eventually restructured together in a few practical conversations, but around the pattern underneath it. I went to therapy for the first time. I had to sit with a stranger and answer the question, why does asking for help feel more dangerous to you than lying? What I found, digging into that, surprised me. I grew up in a house where my mother handled everything silently and never once let my father see her struggle. I thought that was strength. I thought that was what a good wife did. She absorbed the hard things quietly so the people she loved could sleep peacefully. Nobody ever told me that a marriage isn't two people protecting each other from reality. It's two people facing reality together. Protection built on concealment isn't intimacy. It's isolation wearing intimacy's clothes. When Michael and I finally sat down, really sat down, no distractions, no performing, I told him all of this. I told him about my mother, about the version of strength I'd inherited without ever questioning it. And something shifted in his face. He wasn't just angry anymore. He was sad for both of us. He said something I still think about. I didn't marry you so you could carry things alone. I married you so neither of us would have to. We rebuilt slowly. Not through some grand romantic gesture, but through small and glamorous choices, a weekly 10-minute money conversation, no matter how uncomfortable. A rule that neither of us was allowed to say I'm fine if we weren't, learning clumsily at first. To say I'm scared or I don't know how to fix this out loud, in real time. Instead of alone in the dark, it's been 6 years since that Tuesday. Our marriage today doesn't look like the catalog image it used to. It's messier, more honest, and honestly, far stronger. Michael knows about every account, every bill, every fear I have about money, and I know his. We are, for the first time in our marriage, actually a team. Here is what I want to leave you with, because I know some of you are sitting with a secret of your own right now. Maybe it's not money. Maybe it's a friendship you haven't let go of, a past you never disclosed, a feeling you buried so deep you've almost convinced yourself it isn't there. I need you to hear this. The secret feels like it's protecting your relationship. But in my experience, and in the experience of so many women I've spoken to since sharing pieces of this story, secrets don't protect intimacy, they slowly starve it. The longer something stays hidden, the more it costs to reveal. And the more distance it quietly builds in a relationship that deserved honesty from the start. If you're carrying something right now, I'm not going to tell you it will be easy to say it out loud. It won't be. My Tuesday nearly cost me my marriage. But I promise you this, whatever conversation you're avoiding is smaller than the distance the silence is creating. Love that has to be protected from the truth was never as safe as it felt. Thank you for sitting with my story today. If this reached you in some way, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's a truth you've been afraid to say out loud? You don't have to share the details. Just naming that it exists is sometimes the first, bravest step. And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, send it to her. She might be sitting in her own silence, waiting for permission to finally speak. I'll see you in the next story.